Hi, this is Josh Kulp. We are learning Daf Shevui. We're learning Masechet Avodah Zarah. And we are on Daf Ayin, page 70. And I wanted to do a brief overview. I know that sometimes I've been doing brief overviews, sometimes I've been going more into particular issues. I hope you learn something from all these videos, no matter what I do. And so I want to do a brief overview of the page today, just to sort of get an overall impression of what is on this page. And basically, up until at least the last quarter of it, we have over and over ma'asim, concrete cases in which wine, Jewish wine, is found in the proximity of Gentiles. And I just wanted to go through, let's say, the 7 of them to give you an overall sense of the whole page. The first case is a non-Jew who seems to enter a Jewish home when the Jews are not present. We don't know why he's entering, but it doesn't seem to be like an issue at all. Perhaps he is in partnership with them, perhaps he's working there, but he freely enters when the Jews are not home. The second case, we have a Jew who lives in the top floor and a non-Jew who lives in the bottom floor. The third case is we have an inn with Jewish wine stored and Gentiles moving around freely. The fourth case is a Jewish house, again, in which Gentiles are found. Again, doesn't seem to be an issue whatsoever. The fifth case is Jews and Gentiles traveling together by boat. The sixth case is Jews that seem to be working with Gentiles together in a wine press, and a lion appears, very excited, or some kind of wild cat scares some of them away. And then there's a bunch of cases at the end, a few cases at the end, with various formats of non-Jewish soldiers who are freely moving around in the city, which brings us up to the next Mishnah, which deals directly with that subject. All of this is to say two things that we know from elsewhere about Babylonian Jewry and are important to understand about the situation in which Babylonian Jewry found itself. First of all, Babylonian Jews and non-Jews did not live in utter isolation. They lived together in very close proximity. They worked together. They lived in the same buildings. They worked in the same homes. They worked in the same wine presses. We don't know anything all that much about Jewish soldiers joining Babylonian forces, but Babylonian forces are freely walking around. They're obviously or mostly not assumed to be non-Jewish. There are a lot of Jews around, a lot of non-Jews around in Jewish neighborhoods, which makes the entire halacha of not drinking wine that might have been touched by non-Jews must have been both a contentious issue, and we've seen a little glimmer of that. It probably irritated the non-Jews if there were large portions of the Jews who were very strict about non-Jews not touching their wine. We know that in a later stage, by the 7th, 8th, and 9th century, we already see anti-Semitic remarks or anti-Jewish remarks that are aimed at the Jewish wine prohibition. In other words, I don't know if it's the source. I don't want to blame the Jews for it, but it comes up in anti-Semitic rhetoric in Europe. We don't have any of that from Babylonia, and it continued to be a source of friction for many hundreds of years in Europe, where the problem was even more exacerbated because Jews not only lived in close proximity to non-Jews, but Jews were too small of a population to act autonomously. They needed non-Jews to serve as servants and wet nurses and to help them in the wine making. Non-Jews and Jews were found even in closer proximity in Jewish Europe. So these laws became very, very difficult to keep. They probably were a source of irritation in the Talmudic period. And sometimes we can see rabbis developing ways of acting leniently, but I don't think we should overdo their tendency to act lenient. They had probably just as much of an impulse, if not more, to act stringently. They took this stuff with great seriosity and preserved it. It may have been for them a big hallmark of what it meant to be Jewish to a certain extent. I don't know, it might be like wearing a kippah around today. I'm not going to go through the origins of kippah, but it's a hallmark of being a religious Jew, at least in modern America, and to a certain extent in modern Israel, is to wear a kippah around. It's a big identity thing. The not drinking wine with non-Jews would have been a strong marker of Jewish identity. Those are things to think about as you continue to learn these sugiot. Some of them are abstract. It happens to be that we learned one here that was quite concrete and relatively stringent. The usual tendency for Agadah to be extremely lenient, we sense it a little bit here, but not all that much. We sense that the rabbis here were pretty stringent in the end on this issue. So good luck learning the page, and we're almost done the Masechet, so hang on there. We'll be learning a new Masechet very soon.